Hello, and welcome back to Girl We Gotta Talk podcast. Today I'm joined by Samantha Purnell. She's a 24-year-old who is really just helping others live their best life through her healthy recipes, fitness, motivation, and all while she's working a full-time job in real estate in Miami. So today she joined me so that she can share some of her biggest tips just living your best life, maybe share some recipes, and overall we're just going to talk about being the best that you can be in your 20s, finding that motivation and what you want to do in life and what makes you the happiest. So Samantha, thank you so much for joining me today. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to talk to you today.
I'm actually really excited. I think that you kind of entail like everything that a 20-year-old wants to just like have. And I think you're super inspirational. You are pretty big on Instagram and TikTok, so we'll get to those. But first I want to do some like rapid fire questions so people can get to know you like a little bit better if they don't already. Okay, so the first one, are you a morning person or a night person?
Oh my God. I feel like it depends on the phase of my life. Right now, I'm a night owl. I cannot go to sleep like before midnight. I don't know what's wrong with me. I can't get off my phone. So I would like to, I'm my best version of myself when I'm a morning person, but I would say naturally I just stay up really late at night. So I'll have to go with night person, unfortunately.
Okay, it's the phone that gets you too, because I'm the same way right now. Like I can't get off of it.
It's really
Um,
bad.
Favorite movie of all time?
Oh my God, that's tough. I feel like the first thing that comes to mind is like Wolf of Wall Street or like Grease, like one of those like old school movies. I love those. But yeah, I think Wolf of Wall Street is definitely one of them up there.
Okay. If you had to eat one meal for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Oh my God, tied between pasta and sushi. I honestly can't decide. Maybe pasta. Oh, I don't know. Sushi's good too, though. Dang, I don't know. Those two tied.
Okay. And then what is one thing you've always wanted to do, but you haven't?
Ooh, probably. I'm just thinking travel off the top of my head. I've always wanted to go to Greece. That's been on the list. So that would probably be one thing. I haven't done that yet.
And then last one, what is your favorite item in your closet?
Ooh, oh my God, that's so good. I feel like the Levi's 501 high-waisted light wash jean shorts are just chef's kiss. They're so good. I
A
love them.
staple, really.
Yeah,
Yeah.
staple. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Wow, those were like really quick answers. That's pretty good. Cool. So we'll jump into like I want to talk about your Instagram. So you are just like the stuff that you make, the food that you make looks just so freaking appealing, so good. How did you even just get started with cooking? Because I feel like cooking, especially for like people in their 20s, is so intimidating. Like people are like, I can make ramen. What like got you into it to start?
Well, I have to basically my mom and my grandma are such good cooks. Like I'm telling you, like literally they are insanely good. My mom is all big about like the presentation of things and just like above and beyond abundant. Like she literally could be like a regular Tuesday night, like in high school, and she like serves salmon on a platter with everything. And it's like just she makes it like an event, like every single time we eat. So I feel like I just learned that from her. So she taught me a lot of stuff just about like seasonings and how to prepare things to and just make like healthy food taste good. Cause she did like, we definitely were raised eating super healthy. And I was always like throwing a fit about like the whole wheat pasta instead of the regular pasta and just stuff like that. But she definitely inspired me as well as my grandma too. We call my grandma Mumsy and she's just like an icon. Like she's the best. She's an amazing cook as well. And I just learned so much from them growing up. And then when I got to college, it was like the first time that I was cooking stuff on my own. And it was just like so liberating to have my own kitchen and just be able to eat whatever I want. So that was kind of like when I feel like I started the Instagram, my chef Sammy per Instagram like 2016, just because I would always take pictures of food and like send it to my friends on Snapchat or something. And they were like, why don't you just make it like, what's the recipe? What's the recipe? And I was like, okay, I gotta put this all in one place so people can just, see the recipe and kind of explain how I made it and stuff like that. So it's been a long time coming, honestly. I just like grew up around food and I've always been a foodie and I've always loved just like cooking really good, healthy meals. So that's kind of where it all started.
Yeah. I think when you have a family that cooks like that, because I'm the same way, like literally like a random Tuesday night, my mom would like chef it up and I'm like, oh my God, okay. It's like you get that inspiration because you're growing up with it all the time. So it's like pretty much the only thing that how to like replicate is like doing it big.
Exactly. And
Um,
I actually loved going out to restaurants more than anything in the entire world. I was so jealous of the kids that would like go out to restaurants all the time. But then I like looking back, I was so lucky to have a mom that was like willing to make us a gourmet meal every single night. It was honestly amazing. So yeah, I thank her for that for sure.
Now you can appreciate it. Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's really awesome. And all your friends were like, just what is the recipe? Just put it
Yeah.
on.
They're
Like,
like, drop the recipe. And like, instead of me literally typing it out to each specific person, I'd be like, okay, I'm just going to post this on my other, chef Instagram or something like that. It was honestly for fun. Like, it was never like, and it's by no means huge at all. It's still just like kind of like a little personal blog that I just will post the picture and then the recipe and stuff like that.
yeah.
Mhm.
What was like one of the biggest recipes to like first blow up where you were like, oh crap, I think people kind of like what I'm doing here?
Definitely on TikTok was the Juicy Chicken 101. And I feel like that is just a staple because chicken is something that everyone like makes usually throughout the week. It's just a staple protein and it's healthy and it's so good, but like it's hard to make it taste really good. And it's also hard to like cook it right. Like I feel like my biggest problem was whenever I make chicken, it'd be like burnt on the outside and like raw in the middle. And I was like, what's going on? Like, how come I can't perfect this? And then when I finally realized that it's just like the technique of basically what the recipe is just like you just season chicken. I use a bunch of different seasonings. I say it in the video, and then I use a cast iron skillet to like get it crispy on one side, and then I flip it, and then you finish it off in the oven. And that was just like revolutionary. It was just everyone started making it, and I still literally have people stop me, like literally strangers, and they're like, "No, you don't understand. Like the juicy chicken one changed my life." And I'm like, what is going on? Like, this is just so funny and so crazy, but it really does. When you find something staple that like you can make every single week and it's just like becomes like a part of your life, like that's what blows up, I feel like. So that was back in like May, I think, on TikTok. So that one really, took off for me, I feel like.
Yeah, that's awesome. No, and it looked so good. I like believe that it blew up. No, and it's so funny because people just there's like simple recipes or just simple like foods that people don't really know how to cook, and like chicken is one of them. And like what you were saying, it's like raw on the inside, but why? Because I'm doing everything I thought was
That's
right.
I'm cooking this thing. It's burnt on the outside. I can't cook it for any longer. And it's like,
Right.
oh my God. It's the technique. Like once you learn how to make it and it comes out perfectly every time, you're like so much more likely to keep cooking and you're not going to order out because you're like, oh my God, I can make it at home. It's perfect. Like, what am I doing? Yeah. So the
Totally.
staple, simple recipes are like, once you get those down, you can build from there. But until you get the staples down, like, yeah, it's just not fun to cook because it never comes out the way you want it. And you're like, oh, I might as well just order at a restaurant. But once, yeah, again, like the super simple staple stuff is like, that's the key.
Totally. And for the recipes that you post, are these just like recipes that you've always been making, or are you kind of like looking up other recipes and you're learning them like as you go, or is it kind of like both? Is it both?
I really don't look up that many recipes. It's honestly whatever I'm craving. Like I feel like I'm kind of a creature of habit. Like once I like something, I have it like every day for lunch for like 2 months. And then I, like stop and then I get sick of it and I switch. Like I'll kind of have like a staple salad that I'll keep making over and over and over again. And I'll post that recipe. And I just like, I feel like whenever I eat, when I'm at a restaurant and I order something and I'm like, oh, that was such a good salad, I'll recreate that later. It's more like I'll have tasted something and I'm like craving that flavor. And then I'll kind of like whip up a recipe just according from like what I'm feeling. So, and I feel like I have favorite vegetables and favorite seasonings and kind of stuff that I always like. So I just kind of make the same variation of different recipes like that. But when I don't really necessarily look up recipes, I kind of just, if I'm wondering how to cook something, or if I'm like, oh, I really want to make a homemade, some like vodka sauce or like marinara or something like that, then maybe I'll look up a recipe, but mostly I'll just wing it, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel like a lot of your recipes, you're like, these are really, really healthy, but like, look, it can be so good. Like, I feel like that's like your niche right now. You're like, you can eat healthy, but it can actually taste good.
Yes.
Um, what do you think is like the importance of like showing that? Because I feel like a lot of people think like if you eat like spinach and carrots, you'll be skinny and healthy. Like, no, you can have pasta and you can still like have a healthy, pasta dish.
I'm so glad you asked that. That's like literally the most loaded question. And this year has actually been the year that I've really come to terms with this concept because I feel like I used to be the kind of person that was like, okay, I've gained a couple pounds. I got to cut back. Let's start eating a lot healthier. Let's, really grind mode. Let's get after it. And I would have like, broccoli, chicken, brown rice. And it was just like, what? Like, I never looked forward to my meals ever. And I was like, this is awful. All I want is this other food or this pasta or whatever. And then I feel like when you finally can make the switch to making healthy things that you actually enjoy, like don't eat vegetables that you absolutely hate. Don't have protein that you have, like, just don't even do it. Why? Life is too short. You can literally just make anything healthy and make it taste good just by the way you're cooking it, the seasonings, and just the quality of the food that you're having makes it healthy. That's just like the biggest thing. Like your life begins when you actually crave healthy food that actually tastes good. And if you can make it taste good, you're going to have it more often. And it's just like a snowball effect after that. Your life, it just gets so much better when you can do that. And it becomes a lifestyle instead of a diet, I think.
Totally. That's the key right there. It's a lifestyle, not a diet. And I think also with like TikTok and Instagram and just social media in general, we can all share like that exactly. Like we can be like, look, you can eat healthy food and like it, and like you can do this, and you know what I mean? Like we can share those tips and stuff. I feel like that's so cool that we're able to do that because of social media.
For
Um,
sure.
and especially TikTok now because it's like so quick, like short form. So moving into that, like what was your motivation to start like making those recipes and stuff on TikTok and just moving to TikTok in general?
I think it was because I like the concept of video instead of like so I had the Instagram where I would type out the recipes and kind of give the step-by-step instruction. And I was like, this would be so much easier if I could just bring the camera along with me and just kind of like just show exactly each step and make it, way more visual. Like I'm a very visual learner, so I don't really like having to read a whole blog post and figure out like just show me the video where they're doing it and I'm just
Yeah.
gonna make whatever they're doing. Like I just like get to the point. Come on, I don't have to like I can't read this. It's just like it's great to screenshot a recipe. Like that definitely comes in handy. But TikTok was very appealing to me because I liked how it was fast. It was a minute long, and you can be very specific and show exactly what you're doing. And kind of, even if I'm showing something like, okay, I'm putting this in, I can talk in the background and do a voiceover and explain further, like why this is important, why to use avocado oil instead of olive oil because of the high heat temperature, just things like that would take me like a novel to write this in an Instagram caption. So I was really happy to, just explore TikTok and get, just try things out. It was definitely it was definitely a process of like learning how to edit that because I have no experience learning how to like edit videos and kind of stuff like that. So it took me probably like a month or two to really figure out how to do it quickly. But once I did, it was so much easier, and I just like kept going from there, and that really blew up.
I think with TikTok too, it's so different from every other social media that we have right now. And I feel like everyone kind of feels the same way as like you can see some really real, like raw stuff from people on TikTok and like real emotion, real feelings. And like the other side of like what Instagram is, which is like the highlight reel and like my life is perfect and like look what I'm doing. And I feel like it's so nice and like refreshing that TikTok is like a space for that. Would you agree? And like, why do you like, being on TikTok and being like a creator on TikTok so much? Is
I
it
think,
because of that?
yeah, it's just way more casual, and you can just be a real person. Like it's not just your highlight reel. It's kind of, I feel like we're all getting sick of this like concept of like, look how perfect my life is, look how amazing this is, and it's just like not realistic, and it just gets really tired really easily, and it gives everyone anxiety, and no one really enjoys going through Instagram as much. I feel like because it's just so much pressure to like post the best photo, and like whenever you go somewhere, it's like in the back of your head, you're like, okay, I have to get the photo, I have to look at this way, and it takes the joy out of just like living a normal life and just being a relatable person. And I feel like relatability and just empathy with others and just being able to be like talk about things that are just super relevant just clicks way more with people, and it's way more enjoyable to consume that kind of content, at least for me. And I think a lot of people are realizing that as well. It's kind of like, can we just cut the act that we're all perfect and life is amazing and just talk about things that are real and like, just, and it's funny too. Also, I just love that on TikTok, like on Instagram, like if you're posting a story or a photo, it's like the best version. I've never looked better. This is
Yeah.
me at my best. And then TikTok, it's like literally I filmed a video this morning and it was like I hadn't even brushed my teeth yet, hair a mess, like morning. It was just like, and I didn't think twice. I was like, yeah, of course I'm gonna post a TikTok. Why would I get ready for TikTok? Like, no,
Yeah.
it's just way more laid back and it's way more fun that way. And you're way more likely to actually enjoy making content and consuming content that's really relatable. So I think that's why.
Totally. And as far as like the content that you're creating, so like we talked about like the food, but you also do some fitness stuff as well. So, how does like fitness play a role in your life right now?
Fitness and lifestyle, yeah, I feel like are my new, I really love making that kind of content too, because I think, again, it's just like when you can give a tip that's actually going to resonate with someone instead of like, okay, I wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning and I head to the gym and blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, no, like I definitely snooze my alarm twice. I missed that workout. Like, I feel like it's more big picture now for me. I used to be very micro and be like, okay, I'm going to run on the treadmill and I have to do 2 miles and make it this and this. And it was like super regimented and strict. And then it was very easy to get burned out, I would say. But now I kind of look at my fitness as like an overall big picture. And it's like at the end of the month, like how was I active? What did I do? And I'm really into walking. I would say I never used to take walks ever. The only form of cardio I would do would be like on the elliptical or on the treadmill or something like that. And I never really considered walking like a part of my daily activity, but now it's like a non-negotiable. I have to go for an hour walk every day because I feel like just those getting those steps in and just clearing your head is like way more beneficial overall than just like a 45-minute HIIT workout for me. It's just that it's making something a daily habit, but something not as daunting that could be a daily habit. Like something so simple as a walk can make the biggest difference in your fitness if you just do it consistently. So it's about like the lower impact, more consistent thing. Big picture is kind of where my head's at now, when it really did not used to be like that. So I'm very, very happy with how it is, because it's been way more easy and effortless to lose weight than it's ever been.
And I think walks are something that people started obviously like this past year, and
Exactly.
they're realizing the exact same thing. Like it's like, oh, I can kind of take this hour or so or whatever, 20 minutes, however long you do it, to like clear my head, first of all, and then be on my own for a second.
Mhm.
And yeah, and then you're getting exercise. And if you do it every day, it's like the consistency more than like I'm doing this to like lose weight, like it's just for your health. Like it's just like better for everything, I think, not just like, fitness.
Yes, and like I'm definitely still numbers oriented and fitness oriented. Like I wear an Apple Watch and I definitely try to close my rings every day, just like everyone else. But like my big thing now is just get 10,000 steps. But like it doesn't matter how I get them. I could run on the treadmill if I have no time to go on a walk, or if I have time, if I have an hour, or before or after work, I'm going to go for a walk because that's so enjoyable to me and it doesn't stress me out. And it's just like you just make it a non-negotiable and it just becomes like habit. But I will say, like the daunting hour walk sounded like a lot to me at first. As for someone who didn't walk that much, I was like, oh my God, who has the time? I could never do this. So I would just go on a 20-minute one, and I would do that consistently for like a month. And then it was like, oh, I kind of want to finish this podcast, I'll keep walking. And then you just go longer and longer, but it's just starting something for a couple of minutes a day makes the biggest difference.
Totally. And you said podcast because I, obviously this is a podcast, but
Of course,
I
yeah.
listen to like a bazillion other podcasts, and when I'm on walks like that, or just like trying to like escape for a minute, like you get so sucked in, you have no idea, like like you've no concept of time. And so you're on the walk and you're just like enjoying yourself and not thinking about it. I think like, obviously music is nice too, but if you want to like not exactly think about how long you're out for, like podcasts I think are a really good like option,
Could not recommend them more. Yes, it's like a moving meditation, honestly. You're like
Totally.
walking and you're just like in another world. You're listening to other people. You don't have to think, because you're listening to other people just like give their perspectives. And I think that is like the best way to kill the time for sure. Or call a friend. I also love to like tell me, like 2 hours can go by so fast if you were on like a pretty walk and just like on the phone with your best friend or your mom or something. It's just like that's the key too. I feel like
Yeah.
podcast or a phone call for me.
So as far as like getting in a routine, I feel like you've kind of like implemented this a lot on your TikTok, and you kind of just talked about it a little bit ago. So how important do you think like getting into like a routine of things in life is important? Because I feel like I this past year, like I've had all this time, right? So like I'm more strict on myself of like, let's like do things for you. Let's get into a routine of things and like start your day off right. So like how important is a routine in your life?
It's super important. I think for someone who I'm not type A at all and I need structure in my life to be productive, or else my day will run me if I don't take the time to try to run the day. Those just like 30 minutes in the morning where you can just do a couple self-care things will seriously set you up to have a much better day. And I really do see the difference. Like I'll compare a day where I just woke up and laid on my phone all Sunday morning or whatever, and I didn't really do anything, versus a day that I woke up and I got up and I opened the blinds, I made my bed really quick, did a little 5-minute meditation, drank some water. Like I have a significantly better day if I do that. And if you see the difference and you start feeling it, you're like, oh, that sounds a lot better to me than just, spiking my cortisol level at 9:02 a.m. if I don't have to. Like just do things that make you feel good, and you're going to end up having a way more productive day. So I feel like, especially during this past year when everyone's not really rushing and having it to commute everywhere, you have that extra 30 minutes. So it's like, why not just be kind to yourself and do something self-care that's going to set you up to have a great day? I feel like that's just so important.
Exactly. No, I'm literally the same. Like, especially this morning, I was like, hit snooze like 3 times. My eyes were like swollen
Same.
shut. I'm like, this is not happening. I'm not waking up for work right now. And I did, obviously. And I don't know, I just like started it a little bit slow. Like I got my coffee and like I did my little like skincare, and I kind of just took it slow, like wrote out the list for the day, and just like, yeah, starting it a little bit slower for myself. And then, now I'm like, go, go, go. And I'm having a great day so far. And I think that is like a small little thing that you can do to just kind of like, yeah, get your day going on like the right foot.
Exactly. And not to be too hard on yourself. Like if you really do need to sleep in, then sleep in. Like you listen to your body. Like if you absolutely despise working out in the morning, then don't work out in the morning. If you have literally no time, like a lot of people say like, okay, my kids wake me up at this time. And I'm like, I can't really say that at all. I'm 24 and I have no kids like anytime soon, but it's like, I'm
Yeah.
obviously yeah, I'm happy to, be able to sleep in as long as possible and also still have 30 minutes myself. Like that's a luxury for sure. But just if you can take 5 minutes, even if it's like, just do one thing that's going to make you have a better day, honestly. Even if it's, yeah, doing your skincare routine or just like sitting in silence for a second and just enjoy your coffee, it'll just make the biggest difference.
Totally.
Yeah.
So speaking of work, I wanted to talk about, so you went to college. Where did you go to school and like, what did you major in and study?
I went to University of Miami. It was the best 4 years of my life. I literally cried on graduation day because I loved it so much, and I didn't want to graduate. And I studied public relations and marketing. They have a great communication school, a great business school, and I learned so much. So that was awesome. So then, yeah, I did events for a little bit, and I worked in an agency, like a public relations and marketing agency. I also did some events. So I really got like to experience it all. And I always had an internship. I was always just kind of trying out different little segments to see what I liked and didn't like. So that was, yeah, that was kind of my career path from the college perspective.
Okay. So when you were in school, you did internships, but how was post grad? Like, were you like super nervous about even finding a job, or like were you kind of like ready to go once you graduated, you already had the job locked down? And like, how did that process go for people that are like, I don't know what to do now?
I totally understand. Yeah, I had a part-time internship that I started January of my senior year. So it was my spring semester of my senior year, and I started like January that first week. And it was like I was an event manager, and it was basically like doing events like weddings and bar mitzvahs and stuff all around Miami. It was like super luxury, so beautiful. It was a lot of fun. I learned so much. And I had that part-time. So I would go like 9 to 1, and then I had my class like 2 to whatever the evening was. So I would like always go in the mornings like 3 days a week, and then on the weekends I would go do the events and stuff like that. So if you could find something to do part-time while you're still in school and you have that structure of your classes, you're like, oh yeah, I can do this for a couple hours a day. Even if it's like now that everything's remote, it might even be easier. Or even just shadowing someone, like if you really look up to someone in a specific field and you just message them and say, hey, I would love to, help you out, assist you with some kind of thing, and like just learn, get some kind of experience while you're still in school so you can kind of have an idea. And then sometimes that turns into the full-time job after. So that in my case, they offered me a full-time position right after I graduated. And I wasn't there too long because I wanted to go back and kind of get into public relations again. But for me, that was just, that is what I needed to stay in Miami, because I'm from Virginia. And I was like, I have to have a job lined up. I have to have a salary in place and know what I'm looking at in order to get an apartment. So all these things were kind of like daunting. I was like, oh my God, I have to have something lined up. And it just kind of worked out for me in that sense, where I just got the full-time job offer from that internship. So I would definitely suggest doing something like that. And just anything that you can do that will give you peace of mind and just have that. But I know it's harder than ever. So it's just tough, but don't beat yourself up, and just, I would say my biggest piece of advice is look to the people that you know as a resource, and just market yourself, tell everyone you're looking for a job, or just message people, get your foot in the door somehow. And that's going to pay off like wonders. So I would say that.
Absolutely. That's what I was going to say too, because obviously this time is a little bit different than when we were graduating college.
Yes, I know. I feel so bad for everyone. I'm so sorry. Like
I
if
know.
you're graduating, like you're in my prayers. Like I'm telling you, like it's gonna be okay though. I promise. I promise. It's gonna be okay.
And I think just reaching out to people in general, like and people are so annoying in college about like networking and like blah, blah, blah. But like seriously, that is so important. And like reaching out to people in your area that like do what you're doing, just like maybe even ask questions, or like, ask about shadowing, just being like, hey, like, could I just like come to work with you? Maybe like, one day a
Exactly.
week or 2 days a week, and just see like what you're doing. Like, you don't have to pay me or anything. I just want to learn.
Yeah. It's talking to your sphere of influence. Like I didn't even apply to any of the jobs that I got. My first job, the events job, it was because the mom that I was babysitting for like 5 years was like, oh my God, you'd be great at this. My friend owns this business. I'll put you in touch with her. And then she made the introduction, which is like, that's all I needed. It was the intro. And then for my next job, my professor sent the president of the company an email, and that was my foot in the door. It's just kind of like asking people that do have influence around you, or just may know people, to, look out for you and say, hey, I am looking for a job. Like, do you know anyone that has this kind of company? And I'm sure so many people do.
Totally. Yeah, I know my first ever internship I got in my junior year of college, and it was because a neighbor knew someone that had a PR firm in our town and was like, you know what, you would be great for this, like blah, blah, kind of the same thing. And then I worked for him actually like basically for 2.5 years.
Yeah,
And that was literally because of a neighbor, thought of me and like connected me. And it was just like as easy as that. So I think is like, as long as you talk to people, people have connections everywhere. You have
exactly.
no idea who people know. And I just think that's super important. I mean, and LinkedIn is like a very interesting place too. Like you can definitely, reach out to people that way. But yeah, networking is a crazy little thing, like
It
people
really
get.
is. I know, and social media is just becoming like a definitely a new way to do it. People DM me all the time, like, "Hey, like, how'd you get into real estate? How'd you?" And they just want advice. And I'm like, "Do you want to hop on a phone call? I can totally tell you everything that happened to me, and hopefully that helps." Because you're very willing to just help other people and just guide them through. Because the people that did that for me was just like I couldn't have done it without that. And I will say though, it completely depends on your field. Like I know my friends in finance, like that's very common for them to have a job lined up post graduation. It all kind of it's just different. Like if you're going the medical route, you're thinking of, okay, I've got to study and get into my next school, things like that. So I would say in like the marketing and communication industries, it's definitely the key is just talking to people and letting everyone know that you're looking for a job and how, kind of get the ball rolling about how they can help you maybe.
Yeah. So you mentioned real estate. I want to ask you about that because yeah, a lot of people are really interested in real estate. I am too, and I like eventually want to go into real estate. Yeah, how did you get into that? Was it networking in this time? Like how did that go?
Yeah, it was kind of like I wanted to do it like for a while. Like I've always said, even when I was working my full-time PR position, I was like, oh, I really want to do that on the side because I was doing a lot of PR for real estate companies and specific buildings and projects and stuff. And I was like, I really love this. It's just great. And I love real estate. I love interior design. It was just always an interest. And I was like, in the back of my head, I was like, yeah, I'll get my license and just kind of have that, even if I just do it on the weekends, just kind of think of it as like, just get into it somehow. And then when the pandemic happened, it was just like, I had so much extra time and I was like, of course, I'm just going to sign up. And I did it virtually. So that was the best thing ever. I didn't have to go into a classroom or anything. And they still offer that, by the way. So I would honestly take advantage of any virtual thing that you can do right now, because once it goes back in person, it's going to be so much more time consuming, I would say. But yeah, I mean, for me, it was like I've always wanted to. And then when COVID happened, it was just like the perfect opportunity for me to actually sit down and get it done. But yeah, my piece of advice would just be to, if you're interested in, just look up in your, literally just Google like real estate schools in your state, because each state you have to get your own specific license. So it's going to be different for each state. But yeah, and then just kind of talk to people that are in real estate in your area, maybe send them a quick DM, any advice that they have, stuff like that.
So what is
Mhm.
like a typical day in the life for you right now?
Right now, so I make my own schedule and I am on a team. I'm with Keller Williams Miami Beach, and we have a team where we have like check-ins at 8:30 in the morning, Monday through Friday. So we kind of go over our goals and like where we're struggling if something comes up, and we have each other as like a resource, which is great. Because the thing about real estate is no one's telling you to do anything. No one is making you get up. You don't have to show up if you don't want to, but you literally get out exactly what you put in. So it's way more like when you're working commission based, it's like you have to get up and go to and do these things because that's how you're getting paid and that's how you're paying your rent. So it's like your boss isn't like, oh, you have to do this and this by the end of the day. It's like, no, you're telling yourself you're going to do that, and you're absolutely going to do that because you're getting your own bag. Like there's no way you're not going to not do that. So it's kind of like, and you're working with people, which is really great. Like you have to hold yourself accountable because you make appointments with other people, and it's like, you're not going to let them down. You have a meeting, you have a showing, an open house, stuff like that. It's just completely different. And I would say the schedule is definitely the thing that I love the most about it, is that it's not a 9 to 5. And even if I'm working more hours throughout the day, it doesn't feel as much as a strain to me because I'm happy to, be working with people all day. And even if like I work a lot on the weekends too. So a typical day in the life, like a week in the life is like, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I really front load any appointments, lead generation, calls, things like that. And with my team, we're kind of just like on Slack back and forth throughout the day. We'll go to each other's open houses, help out with any showings that need to happen, things like that. And then I'll schedule my showings in the afternoon, but it's like your schedule is based on your client's schedule. So if your client is working a full-time job and they can't even do anything until 5 o'clock, then you're going to only do showings at 5:30 and 6:30 or on the weekends. So you have to be flexible and be willing to work in really odd hours. Like the other day I was talking to a girl at 10 p.m. because that was the only time that she could talk, and I was like, yeah, I'm happy to call. You have to set boundaries for sure, but I like that it's more time spread out throughout the week, but it's less of a structured 9 to 5 job. And I personally love that. And you're your own boss, which I love even more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you think is like a common misconception about being a real estate agent? Because I feel like a lot of people have like an idea of like what exactly it is. What do you think that is?
I think everyone gets drawn to real estate because of the commission. And it's kind of like, oh my God, all you have to do is just sell this house and you get like X amount of money. And it's like, yeah, but there's a lot that goes into a transaction, and people, it is a big responsibility. This is like sometimes, the biggest transaction of someone's life. And like, you have to really be very diligent, and it's not, you have to put in the work, and you can't slack off, and you can't, not pay attention to certain details and stuff like that. So I think it's just knowing the importance of what you're doing in a person's life is the biggest thing. And another misconception is that like you work less, when I think in fact you probably do work more because you're just available more. And but it doesn't feel like more work, if that makes sense, because you're working for yourself. You're your own boss, it's your own business. It's like if you owned a business, you would be like, do whatever it takes to, make that business thrive. It's not like you're feeling you're undervalued at a company and overworked and underpaid and you're like resenting the job. It's kind of like anything that I have to do, I know that it's just going to be, you're building connections, you're continuing to grow your business, and that's all that matters. So you go to sleep happy at night, honestly.
Yeah. As far as like, yeah, what you're saying, how you're your own boss. You don't really have to like listen to everyone and like get certain things done by the end of the day. You're kind of just like in charge of yourself. Do you
Mm-hmm.
think that you really need to have like, serious self-motivation and like self-discipline when like doing this kind of thing? Because a lot of people like have a 9 to 5 and they have a boss and they have someone that's like kind of on them about things, and that's the only like person that's really holding them accountable. But like in your case, you're holding yourself accountable because at the end of the day you're paying your own rent, for the stuff that
Exactly.
you do.
Yeah, exactly. And you get out what you put in. So you
Right.
can that's the thing about real estate too. You can work a full-time job and still do real estate on the side. You can only work 5 hours a week if you want to. Like once you have your license, no, you're an independent contractor. Like no one is forcing you to work throughout the week or have certain hours. So I think that's also maybe a misconception as well. Maybe people think like, oh, I couldn't do both. I could never do both. Like, no, you literally make your own schedule. So you can work literally one day a month if you want to, or every single day full-time like I am. A big thing that I've learned is the importance of time blocking, and if it's not on the calendar, it doesn't exist. So if you say that you're going to do something for 2 hours, or you have certain appointments throughout the day, it's like your calendar, your Google Calendar is life. Like if it's not on there, it's not going to happen. You have to do it. And just finding other people within your broker that's going to hold you accountable as well. Like I said, I have a team and we have a daily check-in at 8:30 a.m. and that that makes everyone start the day at the same time, and we're all getting after it and talking and just getting through it. So I would say if you are one of those people that struggles with getting things done and self-motivation, maybe procrastination, is look into joining a team, look into joining a broker that has a ton of resources for new agents and lots of training and lots of people that are willing to help you, because that's going to be the biggest difference, or else you're just going to feel so lost.
Yeah. I think that's awesome. As far as like organizational tips, not even necessarily with real estate, but just like having a job in general and being organized, what is like one of your biggest tips you would say in like staying on top of things just in general?
Yeah, I feel like just not letting your day run you, like doing anything you can to mentally prepare for it the morning, the night before or the morning of. Just kind of sit down and go over your to-do list, things that absolutely, your top 3 things that absolutely must get done. And just kind of like brain dumping anything that's been on your mind, like, oh wait, I have to do this at some point this week. It's just really getting organized and look at your whole week, or else it just like creeps up on you and it's like very overwhelming. You don't really have a plan. So I think just like sitting down and looking at your calendar, preparing for things, and just really sticking to it. Like a time block is a time block. Like you can't be on your phone during the time block. It's like, that's like, I do things in like 30 or 45 minute increments, and then I'll take like a 10-minute break and just, check my phone or respond to DMs, or, do something really quick for 10 minutes. But if I'm doing a time block for 30 or 40 minutes, I'm only focusing on that one thing. So you really can't multitask. Like don't try to do a bunch of things at once, and don't be so responsive. I would say like people, I feel like, especially our age, are very big about like the second they get a text, they have to respond to it. The second they get an email, they have to respond to it. It's like, pick like every couple hours when you check your email and respond to things, and then close it, and then again the next day. Because if it's super important, they're going to call you, or it's going to get to you. So I feel like just not being like on the response end so much. Like don't be so reactive, be proactive about your day, and really be disciplined and stick to it. But it just takes practice. So don't beat yourself up at the beginning. It just takes time.
Yeah. And I feel like there are just so many distractions, like you said, like the phone. And like, I think emails is a big thing too, because if you are working in a job where people are constantly like reaching out to you and asking you questions and need things from you as you're trying to do your work at the same time, it's very difficult to like navigate that kind of balance. I think that's
Absolutely.
a really good point. I think it's really important to, yeah, block it out, like take a time period during the day that you're just going to get something done, put your phone away, flip it over, put it on do not disturb. Because it's so easy. Like there are just like a million distractions that can get to you during the day that really pull you away from like what you need to be doing that day. And it's so easy to like say that and put your phone away. You know what I mean? Like obviously when I'm in the middle of work, I'm like, oh wait, let me just like respond to this person really quick, like you said.
Yes.
I think those are really, really good tips for sure.
Yeah. And even if you are in that one of those jobs, like my old PR job was like rapid fire emails, like 1,000 a day. Like it was like, oh my God, oh my God. And we didn't have Slack, which, so it wasn't like you could, kind of message each other back and forth. It was every single thing was an email. So it was so overwhelming. Like you'd come back from like picking up a salad on your lunch break and you have like 500 emails and you're like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God.
Yeah.
And then you still have to work on the work that you're actually doing. So I think just even if it's 20 minutes, like no one is going to be literally like dying in 20 minutes. Like you're going to see it eventually. So like, just give yourself like when you are focused on doing that specific thing that you're doing for your work, don't check your email for 20 minutes at a time, or even if you can go longer, then do that. But just give yourself a mental break and don't like be so reactive to it. I would say, yeah, it gets so overwhelming, I'm sure.
I know. And I think especially like with our generation, I think there are just such high expectations for us. And, you need to be, at this point in your life, at this age, and you need to be successful by this time and all of that. And I think there's just so much pressure. And so I think it's just important, like overall, to just go easy on yourself, like do what's going to make you happy at the end of the day. What can you like say to that, to like the pressure that we have like at this age?
That's such a good question. I feel that every single day. And I think the biggest thing that keeps me like not going out of control and like actually having a mental breakdown is just thinking about how I can get, like, I have all these goals and aspirations and things I want to do. And I get very impatient. And I feel like the one thing that I tell myself is like, just get 1% better or 1% more towards that goal. Like when things are daunting and like, it looks like it's so unattainable, you don't do it at all. And like, if there's too much to do, you don't do anything or things like that. It's like, if you can just like breathe and just envision and like only think positive things and like no negative self-talk, that absolutely has to stay in 2020. Like if you're doing any form of negative self-talk where it's about your appearance, your others, what other people think of you, you have to stop doing that and just really rewire your mind to think about things in a positive way. And you're going to attract people that bring positivity to your life and like get rid of anything toxic, anything that's bringing you down. Even if your family isn't supportive or, you want to keep things, a little bit, your dreams and your goals, and you don't want to, talk about it with everyone else, just tell yourself that you're getting 1% better every day. And it's the little things, your daily habits are who you are. So don't think so much about like, oh my God, I'm so behind on this one thing that I wanted to accomplish by 25 or 23 or whatever it is. Just know that like, it's all going to happen in time. And as long as you're putting out positive energy in the world and just getting 1% better or 1% closer to that thing, then it's going to come to you in time. So just don't stress about it. It's easier said than done, I know, but just practice that. And those little things will add up throughout the day.
Oh
And
my God,
throughout
that
time.
was like the best advice ever. Oh my gosh.
Oh my God, thank you. Thank you. I'm like getting chills that I just said that. I'm just kidding.
So kind of like wrapping it up, I mean, honestly, we could just end on that note, but I wanted to ask you, how do you feel like you've grown as a person in the last couple of years? I feel like you have, so many like goals and aspirations and you're like successful. How do you think, and you have this like great, positive mindset. How do you think that you've like grown personally?
I think I really made a conscious decision to cut out anything that wasn't serving me or like making me better. That could be people, that could be friendships, that could be content that you're consuming, that could be someone like an influencer or just someone's making you feel bad about yourself. Like I really just like was very mindful about what I was kept consuming, because that is just such a big part of your day. And I really only follow and talk to and consume and like am around positive people. And I think that's been the biggest difference, because I used to be so not confident, so down on myself, and just like self-sabotaged. It was like the worst mental state ever. In college, it was really hard. It was like this lack of it was the unknown. It was this lack of confidence. It was not trusting your ability. You're like, oh my God, even when you're in those classes and you're in your PR class or whatever it is, and you're like, I could never literally actually do this in real life. Like, what am I talking about? It's just, you can't think like that, and just trust your ability that you're whatever you're meant to do, it's going to happen. And like, you have to trust your own ability and just get there. It's like, it's going to be uncomfortable at first, but you have to be uncomfortable in order to grow. So the more uncomfortable you are, the better, because it's all going to pay off later. So just sit in how uncomfortable things are and how anxious you probably are right now, and just know that like you're feeling something because you're growing, and that's all that matters. So just that's been the biggest thing for me. And again, yeah, cutting out anything that's not going to bring you value or serve you in some kind of way. And then also just bringing like not talking about other people and not kind of bringing other people down or myself down has been a big thing, I would say, this past year too, because it's not adding anything to your life. So it's like, why are we just putting that energy out there in the world? It's pointless. It doesn't do anything for anyone. So I think just little things like that have made me really realize and grow a lot.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. I think you're incredible. Thank you so much for coming on. Where can people find
Yeah.
you on Instagram, TikTok, all of that?
I am at Sammy Pur, SAMMYPUR on Instagram and TikTok. And then if you want specific like recipe stuff on Instagram, it's at Chef Sammy Pur. So, but most of my recipe stuff is going to be on TikTok. So definitely go there first. And then Instagram, yes, please hit me with a follow. And any questions or anything like that, I love talking to people. I love responding to DMs, like any advice or anything like that, any motivation. I love talking to people. So definitely hit me up on there.
Okay, cool. Yeah. And I will link all of her socials below in the show notes so you guys can check her out for sure. Definitely do it. It'll benefit your life. But thank
So
you so much for coming on. It was so great talking to you.
it was such a pleasure.
Awesome. So be sure to follow Sammy on all socials like she just mentioned, and Girl We Gotta Talk podcast on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and I'm getting on TikTok, guys. I'm doing it. It's happening.
Why do it?
It's just a little hard, like you got to just get in the rhythm of it and you got to like pump the content out. So I'm working on it. But thank you guys so much for listening.